Welcome to the Fireplace, a warm and welcoming space where we discuss all things cultural diversity and multiculturalism. In this episode, I am happy to introduce Janet Mhindurwa. Janet is a leadership professional in multicultural workplace and community settings. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Edward.
You want to share with our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. So my name is Janet Mhindurwa. I am a professional in the multicultural space, and I've worked in various industries, including government, not-for-profit, and in the community sector, mostly supporting people from multicultural communities to navigate this new space that we've come into. And a lot of my work involved coaching and supporting people to understand the Australian workplace and how it looks like. I also have a background from back home in Zimbabwe in HR, and so I have vast understanding on global human resources issues. And so I've been so fortunate to work alongside a variety of individuals in the different spaces.
That's a vault of experience and knowledge. We can tap from that and build ourselves. Workplace culture in the context of cultural diversity. How can organizations and employees navigate around this space?
That's a very interesting question, and thanks for asking it. So when you start to talk about culture and diversity, it's become a very complex space to talk about or walk in. So culture, as we know it's evolved over a long period of time.
Right.
Culture is different now to how it looked like. When you think about globalization, we now have children who are African but were born in Australia. We have children who are Australian who've gone and worked overseas, whether it's in Korea, China, England, and other parts of the world. So when you talk about culture, it's really interesting because it's shifted over time.
Right.
And diversity as well, its meaning has shifted because cultural diversity now is embedded into what we call people with other needs, including people living with a disability, when we talk about gender, when we talk about age. And so it can be really tricky to unpack what it looks like for different people.
Wow.
The issue really is not that it can't be done, but traditionally workplaces are places where the leaders and the owners of organizations are really looking for profits, productivity, and hiring and promotion processes rely on that, on the systems that create more profits, more productivity, and they are often set on styles that really are leaning towards one cultural default. Right. And so as a result, there's hidden barriers even when the intentions are good. However, all I want to say is that's not a deterrent to how we can start to navigate and think about how we support people in those spaces. I can give an example of myself. When I first started working in Australia, the expectation was that I should know what to do and when to do it. There was no acknowledgement that I had come from a different space. I had come from Zimbabwe, where things look different in terms of workplaces.
Right.
When I was in Zimbabwe, lunchtime was an hour long. There was afternoon tea, and so a lot of that was shaped in that way. And so I brought it to Australia, and so it was new to me to understand that I was allowed to call my boss by first name. Or
What a shocker.
yeah, it was shocking. I was actually confused by being able to say to my boss, who's the owner of the company, hey, John. But yeah, it's that difference. That's I guess the difference that comes from coming from a different place where there are different ways of doing and different ways of thinking.
What are the challenges that most multicultural employees face in the workplace?
So the first and most important is talking about microaggression. I remember when I was very new here in Australia, when I started my first job in an organization, I often was asked this question, and they meant well. They would ask me, Janet, did you learn English here in Australia? Have you always worked in places where English was used back in your home country? Those microaggressions really can demean people's well-being, because while you're meaning well, while the questions are sometimes valid, you do want to understand how a person with a brown skin like me can speak English in an articulate manner. It is really hard to then feel welcome or feel that I belong in a space when obviously there is a question about my abilities already, when clearly I meritoriously was successful in being hired in that space.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate, but it also exposes to the challenges that people from multicultural backgrounds are experiencing in the workplace. But with all these needles shifting, how should the space look like?
Well, it's really tricky. So, to be honest, workplaces were not created with cultural diversity in mind. That's the honest truth. I even go back to Zimbabwe. All of our structures or workplace structures were created around how it was shaped by employers. Really, they did not go, okay, let's individualize specific needs to a certain person. It was all about every worker who comes here should do things this way. And I think diversity is a modern day workplace issue that has arisen. And so changing it is a process, I think. That takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of brave conversations, because a lot of the time we assume that people are comfortable doing things in the way that we expect them because they work for us. But as we know, for productivity to occur, it's very important to invest in our employees and to invest in the people that are making our organization function in the way they should. But sometimes we don't see it that way, because organizations are often created from a fiscal point of view. We're thinking about how much money we can make, how much profits we can make. But our biggest asset in organizations are the people that work, are the people that give back. And so it's very important to invest in the diversity, and not even talking about culture, just the diversity of people. I know that a lot of people have neurodiversity, and in the way they work or function or think. They might want to work shorter hours because the functional brain is operating in that time.
They're more productive.
They're more productive, say from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. But if workplaces are unable to adjust to that, then it can be problematic for people from a diverse perspective, and it takes away productivity. It takes away the skill sets that these individuals may bring.
Yeah.
But because of workplace policies and processes, it's really hard to embed that. And so it's about organizations finding flexibility, whether through technology or learning to adjust to different needs that will create spaces that are more productive.
Great.
It will reduce burnout, and it will reduce, notions of being uniform in the way we work. We are a diverse community.
Sure.
And by acknowledging the difference that we have and embedding it into the way we work is important. And so I often think that there's a lot of learnings around us in the way that we are inclusive to one another. And the world has a lot of examples. So definitely there is a lot of opportunities for us to learn how to embed diversity in workplaces that were not always created for us. And because culture and diversity are consistently changing, it's also important to acknowledge that there is difficulty and pushback, especially when it comes to change. And embedding that, unfortunately, can sometimes be taken for granted, but it's very important because if we embed the diversity that we have, we are opening up spaces for more productivity.
True.
And more profits, in fact, because we're saying to people, you belong here.
We see you.
We see you. And when people feel they belong, they will give back as much as they possibly can. They will not hold back. But if employers are holding back opportunities to open up people to practice their diversity, it can really lead to low productivity, and the profit margins that they're expecting won't come about because people will be calling in sick. More people will be unhappy in the workplace. There'll be so many structural issues that can impact on the employers themselves. And so it is important to find ways or think of ways to embed the diversity. While it's not easy, of course, change is not easy. Changing systems and policies and processes and ways of doing is not easy, but diversity without a system change is just decoration. It's just a piece of paper. There needs to be transformation in the way we do, and making sure that we're not making it tokenistic as well. Because I've seen in spaces that I've been that sometimes they will ask one person to speak for an entire culture and call that diversity and inclusion. But really, we need to give everyone the space to speak for themselves, particularly because we know that multicultural as a word can sometimes be confused. There are people who were born here that speak articulately and have gone to good universities, and usually there will be the people who are picked to speak for the rest because they are articulate and they say the right words, and they've hung around the Western ways of doing, and sometimes that can really remove the hidden disadvantage that some already have, and it causes harm quickly. And so we need to really think thoroughly in the way that we assume diversity in workplace.
Wow, that's absolutely true. I think we have also noticed this in the period that we were ravaged by COVID. There was that culture shift of how people could work.
And I'm glad that you bring up COVID, because COVID was such a lesson for all of us, that while we are resistant to change, we actually when we are forced into change, we have to change.
Yeah.
We have to adapt. We have to keep going. I remember in an organization that I worked in, when we started using Zoom, and there was the assumption, obviously, by many, how are people from cultural backgrounds going to use Zoom or whatever to receive messages about COVID. But somehow we made it work. So I am quite certain that workplaces, if they are forced into a corner, they're able to adapt. They're able to encourage employees to bring out the best of themselves, and they're able to create spaces where employees are able to bring, their best to the workplace, and they're able to adapt to their needs. Unfortunately, as I said, a lot of the workplaces were not created with, cultural diversity or diversity in mind. And so it's a new space that many workplaces are starting to navigate. And it's also important to note that each workplace is different. If you're working in the corporate space, I think there is an ease around change, because corporates are often thinking about, changes in the stock market. They're thinking about KPIs. They're thinking about a lot of things.
The next strategic move.
Absolutely. Whereas in other settings, if you're working in a hospital space, they're thinking about changing, making sure that patients are treated in a timely manner and their budgets are being utilized usefully. So sometimes it's really different depending on the context and the workplaces that you're in, to make the change or to understand diversity. And we know that a lot of corporates are leading in the sense of adapting to diverse needs of employees, and they're leading in their diversity and inclusion plans, because it's not a piece of paper that determines diversity. It is more so the actions. It's the visibility of that diversity, and an organization implementing things that truly reflect that they are comfortable with diversity in their organizations. Because a lot of employees have varying needs, and unfortunately diversity becomes just a piece of paper, or just a plan, or just a policy or procedure or process that we read when we first start work. But it should be an action. It should be enacted in everything that we do. It shouldn't be just a poster to say we are a diverse organization, but it should be visible to the employees, to the employers. And how that happens is really in middle management, who are usually the ones supporting individuals. They need a lot of training in understanding how to work with diversity. They require a lot of support in managing up and escalating issues to the senior management around how it is important to ensure that diversity is embedded into the way we do work, and that even includes globalization. We are a global, we are now global citizens, really, because we have access to the globe in many ways. There is social media that talks to things that happen in America. How quickly does news spread these days? We wake up every day in Australia to know that something has happened in the US. The markets have crashed. Every single day we see the difference. So we are in a global space, and so it's important to start to understand how diversity works.
That brings in a whole different perspective about cultural diversity and culture in the workplace. For example, some organizations are multicultural or intercontinental at the same time, and geographically dispersed all over the world. How do organizations like that navigate spaces like this? and the challenges that are coming with it.
Yeah, so I think we could learn from organizations like that in how they implement diversity in their workplaces. For example, they're assuming that we are an international brand and we should be inclusive in the way that we advertise or talk about our product. Well, anyone that is global, they think differently about diversity because they know that their market is global, their market is diverse, and they need to meet the different needs. It's about that diverse perspective that comes from the different employees in different parts of the world. So we could learn a lot from corporate organizations that selling products that understand that to be productive and to be fiscally responsible, we need to be diverse. We need to embrace diversity because in selling or providing services, our world has become severely diverse. Whether we like it or not, whether we're comfortable with it or not, that's what it is.
There's no going back.
There's no going back.
Right.
I look at the workplaces that I've worked in, they're very diverse. And sometimes it's about also not just employers' responsibility, it is employees. Employees need to advocate for themselves.
Absolutely.
So one example is there was a young lady. She had grown up in the US. She had parents from an Indian background.
Right.
And so she came into the workplace and when she was new, and she said, I wonder why there isn't stand-up desks in this place.
Right.
And so she went to the HR team and said, hey, I need a stand-up desk. And they were like, why? Do you have a health issue or do you have this? And she goes, no, I don't actually have a health issue, but we need stand-up desks because we need to stand. And when we're standing, we become healthy. It's part of a healthy lifestyle to stand every now and then.
Yeah.
And so through her advocacy, we actually have now a number of people in that workplace who have stand-up desks. You know why?
Wow. Because
this one person advocated for that. And it's because she had come from America where it's standard practice to have a stand-up desk. And it does help people to stretch their backs, and lesser people are taking days off because they have stand-up desks in the office and they can exercise and they can stretch. And so that is just an example of why diversity is important, whether it's age, cultural. It's really important to always see the benefits in it. But what was interesting in that moment is when other employees who are also from cultural backgrounds saw that, they thought, oh, what's so special about her? She's getting a stand-up desk. We've been working here for many, many years. We've never had a stand-up desk. What is happening? And it was so important to be reminded that self-advocacy in the workplace is important. Nobody is coming to give you anything because, as we know, people from multicultural backgrounds, usually we are uncomfortable speaking up. And we are uncomfortable asking for what we need because we have come from countries where the workplaces are very authoritarian. There is a hierarchical structure that you can't deny. Your boss is your boss. And so because of that culture that we come from, it's really hard to speak up. It's really hard to voice our concerns. It's really hard to ask for the things that we need. It's really hard to even advocate for a promotion for ourselves, to say, look, I've been working here for X amount of years. I feel like I could grow. There's an opportunity here. I feel like I'm willing to. And we're not given sometimes the opportunity to even contest against others in those spaces because of our timidity. We're very timid in the way we approach. But I'm so fortunate that I learned very early that, I don't need to be timid in the workplace. I can speak up for myself. I can advocate for myself.
Do you think that in that kind of environment, there's also an aspect of protectionism in a way?
Absolutely, there also is. And that's why I speak about microaggression. It's important for individuals to self-advocate, individuals from cultural diverse backgrounds. Sometimes I think because we come from very hierarchical structures in organizations, we often are afraid to advocate for self.
So true.
And we often are afraid to understand that a workplace, while it seems like it's just a place where we go to work and fetch money and go back again, it's a place that we actually grow, that we actually learn. Most of my growth came from workplaces. Okay. The workplaces that I've been in, I've gone in with, I'm Janet, I want to understand where I fit in this workplace. I want to understand this business as a whole and how I can utilize it to grow, how I can utilize it to learn, how I can utilize it to be a better person in this community in Australia where I've been welcomed to come and work. So I've often looked at the bigger picture. I am even interested in understanding what the government priorities are, what the global markets are doing, because that affects me and it affects my workplace. And it affects the decisions that will be made for me and other people in workplaces. So I often encourage people that I champion to make sure that they have a broader understanding of why they are in a workplace, what values align with them in that workplace, and what they seek to achieve from that workplace, because it's important. You need to also want to achieve something in a workplace. It shouldn't be just a place where you go and fetch that paycheck and do it over and over and over and over again. You just need to have a goal as well, to know how and why you should contribute to that space and what you get in return outside of the paycheck.
Wow.
And on the other hand, I've had colleagues from multicultural backgrounds saying, Janet, you're just the perfect diversity hire. You're such the perfect token, because
ticking the boxes.
You tick the right boxes because I'm articulate and because I'm able to advocate. And I learned very quickly that it's important to, when you're part of an organization, to understand the business as a whole, to understand the culture of that organization. What do they stand for? And where do I fit in the picture of that organization? Am I just here to work, or am I a part of this organization? Because I spend like 38 hours in an organization contributing to it. So surely when I am spending that much time in an organization, I should understand why I'm there. The why is important for me.
It's all right.
I need to know why I'm waking up every day to go to this organization to contribute, and the impact it will have on me and the people around me. So a lot of people just think that a workplace is a place where you go and do something and get money.
And your money.
But for me, workplace is a place where you go to make an impact. And yes, the money is important. Yes, I do want to get the money, but the most important thing is understanding what role I play in there and how I benefit, because I also have to benefit as an employee from a workplace. I also have to learn. I also have to grow to become a leader, or to become a better person in society in general. So you have to have a purpose for being in a workplace, whether you're from a cultural background or you're just from the mainstream. It's important to always know your purpose in the workplace and understand why you're there and where you fit in that organization.
I'm glad you've shared that aspect of your experience with our viewers, and I'm sure a lot of people watching us have taken that tip and will use it effectively. Having talked about diversity in the workplace, I want us to drill into a more nuclear space. For example, in a workplace, we have departments, branches, and teams.
Yeah.
Are you able to shed a little bit of light on how team leaders or branch leaders should handle this aspect of cultural diversity under the organizational culture?
Yeah, it's really tricky, and as I said, it goes back down to middle management because they are on the ground working with individuals, and usually a lot of the diversity and inclusion policies and procedures are shaped by, the organizational values. And in most organizations, unfortunately, it's just a policy and procedure.
Yeah.
But to be put into practice, it's difficult because you're thinking of productivity, you're thinking of KPIs, you're thinking of getting the job done. But unfortunately, because we focus on performance, KPIs, it's really hard to embed on a day-to-day the how. The how does exist, and it exists in that you can really escalate it to senior management and make sure that they are embedding things such as diversity and inclusion laws, racism policies, discrimination policies, even microaggressions, because microaggressions are so subtle to the point where you can't quantify how that happens in a workplace. But microaggressions are one of the things that lead to that silent resignation, burnout. And as we know, currently in Australia, we talk about psychosocial hazards. There is a rise in psychosocial hazards because we haven't been able to effectively embed diversity, inclusion policies and procedures into the day-to-day. We're often focused on just, productivity and wanting to get things done and having people in and out of the workplace. And I hear a lot of people often say, hey, you just go to work, you do your work, you get your paycheck and you go back. But that's really a negative way of thinking about workplaces, because we spend a lot of time there a week in a workplace, and more for others. So it's really tricky to assume that that should be the I guess the context of how we look at workplaces. So middle managers play a role. So it's important to then have in smaller organizations or non-corporate organizations to really train middle managers,
right,
and ensure that they have a culture within their teams that is built to ensure that they define diversity goals and they are culturally aware, especially during onboarding, and that they are able to redesign the way they work for their employees, because if they don't revise the way they do things as we become increasingly diverse in Australia, it will be harder to have a workplace that is productive because people are not feeling supported and included. So it's really important to change things like even communication habits. I know in some spaces there's this jargon that's used when you're talking in meetings, circle back, do this, but it doesn't always work because people from diverse backgrounds might not understand that corporate language. Just make sure that we accept input from different individuals, small tweaks that are not drastic sometimes, like understanding the different cultural needs. If we have individuals in our teams that need to move slower in the pace that they work, but they're still productive. We need to be able to, embed that into our system. And there needs to be systems update that respects, names, holidays, representation, tracking, promotion rates for different groups. And, they need to have like goals and incentives for inclusion, because it shouldn't just be a vague statement that we are inclusive. For example, when a business says, we'll give 10% bonus to an inclusive leader, and look at the measures and prioritize that as part of the organization. And that's obviously to do with the sponsorship from senior leadership as well. But as I said also, it is the individuals.
Yeah.
Individuals need to understand that concept of a workplace being a part of their life. It is a part of our lives, whether we like it or not. Yes, we think we just go there to fetch the money, but it impacts on us. There's a few people who have been impacted by workplaces to the point where they can't work. And because you can't work, it takes away your livelihood. So we need to strike a balance somewhere in between, embedding diversity, inclusion into workplaces and how it looks like, and not othering. It's so important not to other. It's important to always say we are doing this to improve, to make a workplace better, and to make people enjoy being in a space that they spend so much time in, because it is important.
Right.
People should be able to be comfortable to wake up on Monday morning and say, I'm going to work, because we have made it a space that is safe for people. And a lot of workplaces are yet to get to that point.
Wow. In a short statement or a few sentences, how should a modern, effective leader in the multicultural work environment or in a multicultural team look like? So
it's an interesting question, because I often think about, the examples I gave around corporates.
Yeah.
Corporates have kind of done it so well because they think more broadly. They think about selling a product. So when you're trying to sell a product, you are always looking at ways to make your employees productive enough so that they enjoy coming back, because you're focusing on KPIs, on numbers, on finances. And so how they've done that is they've made sure that they understand individuals and they remove biases. Leaders in spaces where there is cultural diversity, what they could do is just build inclusive practices daily. So some things that are as simple as cultural day, cultural lunches where different people can bring in their food and share about their culture and ways of doing, can start to normalize inclusion in a workplace.
Right.
And they need to be like a secure and explicit sponsorship from senior leadership that managers are able to advocate for.
Right.
And we need to diagnose systems, especially from the people safety and culture space. I know a lot of HR systems are now called people safety and culture. So if we are going to really reflect that people safety culture stuff, we really need to have structural changes that remove structural blockers, and we need to ask the people that work for us for opinions around how we do that best, because they are the experts. They know better, and they know the how to do certain things, and make workplaces more flexible. Very important, make workplaces more flexible. And I know, back in the day, workplace culture was different back then, and understanding workplaces was completely something that, the life has changed. As I said, the example of that colleague that came in and said, "Hey, I need a stand-up desk."
Yeah.
We need to be adaptable. We need to understand that there will be instances like that to avoid loss of productivity in our workplaces, because the more we leave things the way they are, the less productive we become, because people are calling in sick. They are taking more time off. They are not enjoying the workplace. There's a lot of workers' compensations claims, and so on and so on. So it's really important to see this as a loss in organization if we're not making changes towards inclusive, diverse ways of working, especially in our diversity that we experience at the moment.
Wow. I'm happy you could share that free advice and tips with our viewers, and more especially those who are in charge of teams, people, and culture. Just wanted to tap your brains again. It's a brand new year, fresh start. Where should organizations, leaders, and employees start from?
So it's really important that we start communicating openly about diversity.
Right.
We won't go anywhere until we start talking about that, because in this era after COVID of silent resignation, the era of TikTok, because TikTok has more tips for employees than our own HR systems. There's this TikTok that always comes up about a young lady called Veronica in the workplace, and she's teaching a lot of our Gen Zs how to behave in workplaces. So I think we need to take it seriously, because social media is teaching our employees how to behave, but we can take it upon ourselves to really relook at our policies, procedures, training processes, professional development, and so on, and make it part of our practice, because if we don't, TikTok and Facebook will.
What does that mean in terms of the employers and the employees?
Yeah, I think again it's a combined effort. I often say to people, look at both sides of the coin.
Right.
We all have our responsibilities. Employees, you need to self-advocate. You need to understand again the why. Why are you there? How are you there to contribute? And how are you going to contribute? And if there's anything you're not sure of in a workplace, how are you going to ensure that you make yourself aware? Who are you going to ask? Who are you going to align yourself with? Because it's very important. I think life has changed. I think we are at a point where we need to acknowledge that workplaces are part of our social life, and we can't change that. It's important to really contribute effectively so that we continue to build and and maintain the integrity that we often need to bring into workplaces. For employers, there is so much around us. Australia has become increasingly diverse,
right,
and it's important for us to acknowledge that as a starting point. And knowing that we are needing more and more employers, sometimes from overseas, because of our aging population and our low birth rate. We need to be prepared to prepare our workplaces and our systems to adjust to the diversity that is coming along. And we also need to understand in the employment space that change is inevitable. COVID taught us that.
Oh yeah.
That change is inevitable, and our world has become increasingly global, as I say, through social media, technology, AI, and my goodness, I forgot to talk about AI and its, I guess, its position in the workplace with many diverse people. We need to get an awareness of it,
Right.
get a hold of it,
Very
understand it, and be able to share our vision with our diverse employers, because they also need to be a part of something in order to contribute effectively to the bigger picture of the organization.
Wow, that's so powerful. Well, I can't thank you enough, Janet. I think you have touched very important areas in this discussion, and I can only believe that our viewers will take on board the tips and recommendations that you have shared with us. And until next time, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Edward. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.